YouTube, and especially the RPG game communities. This is Lester Crow and his Strolling Bones, and I'm just making a quick video here talking more so about my pitfalls as a GM. This is kind of meant as a reaching out to other GMs out there. If they have similar problems, or if they have solutions that I haven't thought of to problems, or areas that we can, I'm trying to basically open up avenues with which we can discuss several different pitfalls experienced by GMs. And maybe in the discussion we can talk and link other videos that touch on this subject together, try to create a network. Anyway, the first thing I want to talk about before I really get into depth about that is Reckless Dice Podcast again. Paul and Jesse have been nice enough to invite me along to help talk about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the 3rd edition. From here on out on this video, I'll call it Fantasy Roleplay. And the plan is to kind of try to build a stable of different game masters or narrators and players who are interested in creating a remote play community using map tools in Skype. We're trying to pool together resources, different players who have access to. Right now, we're trying to make a stable for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, but it can be used to play any game system, really. Map tools is quite intuitive for that. So first and foremost, you need to have several things to join the group. Currently, this isn't necessarily going to be the case later down the line if we get into other game systems, but right now you need to have access to the player relevant information for fantasy roleplay from Fantasy Flight Games. You need to have a creative mind, weekend availability, and a good mic and a good audio connection, because you are going to need to have Skype for conference call play and map tools as kind of the medium with which we play in. Above all, you need to have a good character. You need to be able to work well with the team. So that's the pitch. Reckless Dice 5, the 5th podcast, is up, where we touch on a few different things. But you can go listen to that at the website. I'll leave notes in the link here, or links in the notes here. But on to the main topic. I want to talk about pitfalls that GMs suffer from. These come from my perspective, so they're especially relevant to my pitfalls. And others may be observed pitfalls. But for the most part, these are mine in nature. Not to say that others don't suffer from it, just that these are ones I suffer from greatly. First of all, I find my greatest pitfall as a game master is I become much too immersed in the whole world. How can I explain this? So let's use fantasy roleplay as an example in the Warhammer world. I have immersed myself since I was a young kid in Warhammer lore. I love the lore. I think it's fantastic. There's nothing I can say that's really that bad about it, apart from maybe a lack of direct originality. But the way it's all put forward as a whole package is rather original as far as fantasy settings are concerned. It's one of the first major fantasy settings to play role-playing games in. And I become too immersed in any world. The same thing happened with Ravenloft, and especially with Faerun. I became addicted to the Forgotten Realms with all the novels, and I really got into the story mode. But I find that this detracts me terribly from being able to maybe produce more play or game-oriented material. I'm too busy with my nose in a book, reading all of this background information and absorbing it into my head. And then I have a bad habit of not necessarily attacking players, but holding players accountable for not knowing information that maybe their characters should know. And the problem is I try to explain the background of these people, but they don't seem to be interested, and it's hard to sum it up in a really quick manner. And not very many people are willing. I've had a few players over the years who are willing to do homework, essentially, for the games, but not very many willing to actually put in the effort to their characters that I, as a narrator, put into the game development. And I kind of stress that on players, and that might be a problem. That might be why I've lost players or had some bad experiences in the past with playing, because I expect my players to care about the world or want to immerse themselves as much as I do. And I think that that's maybe unfair to the players, but it just bothers me when you try to explain it to them in game terms while they're playing, and they just seem disinterested and bored and don't use that to run with it. You know, that sense of excitement or urgency is a commodity in a player. That also kind of ties into my over preparation, which is another major pitfall I find that I suffer from as a GM. I like to prepare everything. I've been working, ever since I got into fantasy roleplay just over a year ago, I've been working on developing an overarching campaign that implements all the elements of the currently released, like professionally released adventures for it. So like Eye for an Eye, Edge of Night, Gathering Storm, Witch's Song, things like that, the boxed adventures. Horrors of Hugadol and Winds of Change, those. I want to work them into the actual overarching story, but also build through a calendar tool, build a whole bunch of other events that happen and trickle down into the different areas of the Empire. So as the players play, it feels really immersive, and I've been spending a lot of time doing that. That and writing this article that I'm planning on releasing in Liber Fanatic 8. Fingers crossed it makes the cut. Apparently we don't have enough room to run a bunch of different types of articles, and we're trying to find articles that fit specifically to the Criminal Empire theme. Mine is a broad, overarching article. It's more than an article, but it addresses travel. The other major pitfall I find, beyond that of over-preparation, which I'm crazily addicted to, it's almost like I'm OCD when it comes to that. I attempt to weave these intricate plots so that no matter where the players go, I've got some background. I got something to give them to help me with my improv, which is something I'm not actually good at. That's another pitfall I find, or another shortcoming, I should say, is that I lack instantaneous improv skills. If I've already prepared and know that the characters are going to be wandering around in Bretonia, I'll put on the French accent and I will talk like I am from the France. And I'm not very good at that, but I can sort of prepare it and sort of put the accents on the players. But when players are throwing wrenches and twists and turns and meeting all these different new people, it's very difficult for me to adjust on the fly. My improv skills are rusty at best. And that's something I've always lacked and always wanted to get better at as a game master. But I find that that's another pitfall, too much pressure. I put too much pressure on myself as the game master or narrator, because I feel like it's my responsibility to provide a great story. And that's why I get irked when a great story doesn't happen. And a lot of the times that comes from a mixture of my pitfalls and my players', in my mind, shortcomings. In their mind, they just don't give a hell or give a damn about the story, and they just want to hack and slash, and I want to create a story. So that's ranting there a little bit, but I think all in all, that's what I'm trying to get at with the pitfalls that come with me as a game master or narrator, and maybe other people suffer from this. I was wondering if anybody has any ideas out there for me. Is there any shortcuts? Like, is there any good ways to provide the depth that I desire, and the immersiveness that I desire, the ability to weave plot lines all throughout time and space within the world, so that no matter what the players do, I've got something. I've got the seed of something that I can grow. I can do that pretty good running on the seat of my pants. It's just the character improv skills that I have a problem with, the NPC improv. I can improv situations and storylines pretty easily, but that comes with the immersion, which is really important to me, but at the same time I find maybe I'm a little too immersed. So any pointers, any tips, any links to any other videos that touch on the subject would really help me out a lot. So those are the two main things I want to talk about, and the last thing I want to kind of briefly go over is a little bit of a suggestion to anybody out there playing. It doesn't matter the system, really. I'm currently developing a workable system for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the 3rd edition Fantasy Roleplay. And it's basically about encounters, random encounters. So whatever you do, It's going to be a way to provide information, like I said, just those seedlings, just those saplings of ideas for the narrator to paint a broader picture for his gaming group. And I'm building these tools currently, and I really want to show these people, show everybody these tools, everybody interested in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. However, it's going to take just a few more months, I think, a couple months of doing a little bit of play testing with the system, and then I'll be more willing to show you guys what it is. But I just kind of want to get a little discourse going on, about how to overcome these pitfalls, or any other pitfalls that you may suffer from. I might be able to help you with those, and vice versa. And also a little discourse about random encounters. How do you handle elements of randomness within your game beyond just rolling dice? Do you use tables? Are you really good at shooting stuff off your hip, just at the fly, whatever the players throw at you? You're just good at improv. What are some of your concerns or questions about random encounters and how to use them, how to create them, and still provide a believable air over the whole situation. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. Hopefully I can produce a few more videos, but enjoy, and I look forward to hearing your responses. Later.